Guys, we are live here on YouTube, and I just got a notification that the Facebook is not working. So I'm terribly sorry to say that. I certainly hope that people will join in on the YouTube channel. So, a couple things. I just got off the phone with my good friend Jamie Penrith of the UK, and here's a guy. If you don't follow Jamie, um, please do, because I think he is probably one of the very, very, very best trainers I've seen. Work he's done, amazing, amazing work, and just a good guy who really loves dogs and is good with people, unlike, you know, what we've been talking about recently here. So, thanks, Jamie, for the great conversation. I look forward to more chats with you. And boy, there's so much to talk about, so much to unravel today. I'm going to probably have to wear my glasses because I've got my computer here. It's a little bit further away. Pull it in without putting it into the shot. There we go. This way I can actually read the comments, but now it's kind of in the way of my light, it looks like. Let's see if I can move this. Yeah, just adjusting things here a little bit. There we go. How's that? There, I got beautiful light on my face and everything. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being a part of this community, because what it's about really is dog lovers, people who care about dogs. I'm going to do all questions and answers today. Do a lot of, just a nice open chat with you guys, which we haven't had in a while, because usually I have a theme to these things, and it's nice to have a chat where I can answer your questions and check in with you guys from wherever you are. I'll be doing a live after this for members only. That'll start at 10 o'clock California time. If you're a member of my site, then head over to the site. You'll get the link there, because that's a private chat. Let's see here. Where are you guys from? West Texas. Oh, I'm going to put my glasses back on. Oh, that works better, because you know what? I was told this week that I'm an old man. So, and I made a post about that. I thought, boy, since I'm an old man, um, that's actually kind of a good thing, right? Like, being old is like kind of getting to the finish line, and all these young guys are still, halfway around the lap and halfway around the track, and they don't even know if they're going to make the finish line. So, the finish line for me is, I hope not directly in sight, but I definitely see a finish line. I think I'm very proud of being 61 years old. I'm 61. I go to Gold's Gym almost every day. I do cardio. I do weights. I lift a good amount of weight. I look great. I mean, that's what I'm told, at least. So, very proud of it. So, for those of you, couple of people who said, oh, what was the other one? An old white man. And although that is a very racist statement, because if I was black and you said he's an old black man or an old Chinese man or something, you'd be scorned. But it's safe. And you know what? I'm happy being man. I'm happy being white. I'm happy being old. I'm happy being very successful. So anyway, let's see. Oh, a lot of great comments here. So a lot of great comments. And this is a great comment. I always love to see these comments. Oop, that's not the comment I wanted to post up there. What's going on here? I'm trying to, for some reason, my comments are not, they should, there they are. Okay, so the comment should stay there, and I should be able to add it. Oh, very nice. Okay, there you go. Member of both Jamie and my site. That's fantastic. Jamie's online training, I would say it's second to none. So it's very, very good that you remember there. And I'm going to tell you, the other person I talked to this morning, which was really, really nice, um, was my friend Kevin Peters from Canine Avengers. And Canine Avengers is an amazing, amazing rescue for Belgian Malinois. And Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherds, German Shepherds. I've seen him have a lot of dogs. This is a guy who really gets it. Um, Kevin is a dog lover, but also a very skilled dog trainer and dog handler, and has done so many things. He took Gamora when I was in the jam. I got Gamora to him, and he got her a home, got her adopted. And this guy, Kevin Peters, Canine Avengers Rescue. I mean, if I can give you a good place, if you want to make a donation, I go there. Wow, Norway, from Norway. Nice to see you in Norway. Um, Jersey, nice. I lived in Jersey. It was the first place I lived in the United States after we moved back. There you go. Remember both you, my and Jamie's site. Okay, 84, bird dog trainer, still working and loving it. God bless you, Penny. 84 years old. There was a woman was a good friend of Janet and mine who just recently passed away in her 80s, still doing bird dog training. So um, that's what it's about. It's about, living life and it's just interesting how people um, shame that. Kind of crazy. I mean, we used to say you're still wet behind the ears or, young and dumb, but, Vancouver, Washington, nice to see you there. Just going through Midland, Texas. We're watching the documentary Landman, which is filmed, I guess, in Midland, Texas. Loving that. West Texas Animal Shelter, great. Um, oh, Mike, it's you. Okay, I didn't even notice that. Good. Um, we're in Texas, hunting guide for years, deep East Texas. Love Texas. I spent time in Texas, one of my favorite states. Absolutely love Texas. So many places I've been that I actually absolutely love. So, Australia. What time is it in Australia? It's got to be like, what do you have, like a 18-hour difference or something? It's something with my friends in Europe. I'm always talking to them, and then I always have to be conscious that they're 9 hours ahead because I'm in California. So, um, anyway, who shames? A lot of people are shaming. This is what the thing is with the internet. People love to shame people. I don't know why, but they do, and it's a sad thing. It's a real insecurity thing. So I just let it go because recently I called out a trainer. Right, recently I called out this trainer who I found was being very abusive to other people, and I'll just touch on this for a second. And the reason I'm online, the reason I have a social media presence at all is because I really like helping dogs. It's not, I don't make a lot of money. I make $1,000 a month on YouTube. That's it. 340,000. And I think I make $200 a month on Facebook. So there you can see, there's my full disclosure. And if you think I'm living the life I'm living on $1,200 a month, you're wrong. Dead wrong. The reason I do this is because every single time I've gone to shut it down, I get a plethora of people who say, please don't, right? Because, and Jamie Penrith and I just had this conversation. Why do we do this? Because if people like Jamie and I, or, and other good trainers, there's so many good trainers online. If we pull off, then all that's left is the scum. So as long as people are like us, are able to stand up, defend ourselves, we're well spoken. Jamie's much better spoken than I am, but you know, we're there. We're doing these things. The other stuff kind of sometimes gets pushed to the side, and people will see that there is an immense amount of wisdom to be had from somebody older, where usually somebody younger is still trying to figure it out. I don't, my old doctor retired. My old general doctor was 70 something and he retired, and I got a young doctor. I can't say I'm as comfortable with him because he lacks the experience. Now, he's probably straight out of school and, got a lot of knowledge, but the actual experience is lacking. And that's the thing when people go through these online courses or these in-person courses and then they get a certificate and suddenly they're a boom, I'm a so and so certified trainer. Great. You went through a course, right? How many dogs have you had your hands on? That's what we want to look at. Like, how many dogs have you laid your hands on and practiced what you were taught? Ask yourself that question and then decide on who the better candidate is to help you with your dog. The person who just learned the theory in a school, in a book, on a video, or whatever, or a person who's handled several thousand dogs of different breeds, temperaments, training styles, and everything, and figured it out. That's really, really important. People need to understand that. And the whole idea, people now always say, show the work, show the work, show the work. And I get it. It's a nice thing to say, show the work. What people have to remember is a lot of people who are dog trainers aren't training their dogs like this, right? Most dog trainers now, this is what you see. Come, sit, da, 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 because they have to. This is the only way they communicate. I go to concerts and this is what I see. People are watching their world through a phone, and it's disturbing. It's terribly disturbing. Live your life. That being said, I was showing my work 15, 17 years ago when a lot of these young trainers were still suckling on their mom's breasts. That's when I was doing the work. A couple years ago, I said, "I'm gonna semi-retire," and I did. I semi-retired. When I got Shmoo, I said, "I'm gonna dedicate so much more time to Shmoo and my training and enjoying my life, enjoying the fruits of my labor, and if anybody finds fault in that, then, hmm, too bad." Because that's the goal. The goal is to enjoy your life. So, let's see, let's see if there are any questions. Mike works in a shelter in Texas. Good guy. Over 100 dogs this year, a lot of returns. Yeah, the shelters are overflowing. So if you think all these people are doing these amazing things, with their programs and their dogs, they're not. We're failing miserably. Everyone is failing miserably, myself included. By the way, I go into the shelter and I make these videos. I help, when the shelter staff needs help with some training. Just was working with one shelter, actually a manager who had a dog, a little pocket pit that was just always redirecting on a leash, redirecting on a leash. And I went in, did a session, told him exactly what to do. Now, this particular employee who I've mentored for quite some time, um, she followed my protocol exactly, and within, I think, 10 days, the dog is now able to walk without grabbing the leash. The behavior is greatly reduced, but it needs to be reinforced and continued because that's the thing people always, sadly, show online. Bad behavior, training, solution, and people think it's that simple. This is the killer of online training, showing it being solved like that. Well, there is no training that's solved like that or created like that. It does not exist. People can extinguish a behavior temporarily, but that behavior will come back, 100% come back, and will lead to more bad behaviors unless you continue to reinforce the training. I got a thing I wrote down and I'm going to post it later, and it's called the phases of training a dog. And I'm going to tease it here, but I'm not going to give it away because I'm going to make a post of it because there are 4 specific phases to training a dog, and I'm going to get into those. So, and like I was saying, I make these videos, go to the shelter, but there are so many dogs in the shelters. We will never, ever, ever adopt our way out of this problem. We will not. It's impossible. And all the rescue organizations and all these people guilting people into getting rescue dogs and this dog and that dog, that's not going to solve it. So saying, "Oh, you're an idiot. You bought a dog." I bought a dog, by the way. Um, you're an idiot for buying a dog. You should rescue a shelter dog. It's not going to solve the problem, right? If everybody who wants a dog gets a shelter dog, the shelters will still be full, without a doubt. There's no doubt in my mind it will not move the needle one bit one way or the other. By trying to convince a person like me who bought a well-bred, well-lined, well health-checked dog, if you talk me into getting a shelter dog, I can and every person like me into it, tomorrow the shelters will still be full. So stop the nonsense. People said, this was some funny comments. I'll get into the questions in a sec. People said, "Oh, Robert Cabral lost his house in the fire, and that's why he's upset, and that's why he's this." No, I'm not. I lost everything I owned. Last year, I lost my mother and 3 dogs. Okay, everything that was important to me, I lost. I gained Shmoo, but I gained everything. I lost. Then on January 7th, my entire city burnt down, and I lost everything I owned. Everything I've ever owned, every memory I had, everything was gone, except for me, my wife, and our 2 dogs, and the clothes I had on my back. But you know what? That's fine. I dusted myself off. I didn't get any GoFundMe. I asked all my friends, "Do not do a GoFundMe. I don't need any money. I don't need anybody's help. I will do it on my own." I've made and lost it a few times in my life. So that's not why I'm bitter, and I'm not bitter, right? The reason I say things I say is because I believe them. And people say, "Oh, you're liberal and this, that." First of all, my political position plays no relevance on any of this stuff. And if you truly believe it does, then you've got a problem. Then you're one of those people who considers, the old white man thing. You're stupid. The bottom line is, unless you change the system, of dog ownership and create a system where people are forced to be more responsible with their dogs. And that would involve dog registration and microchipping so that when that dog shows up at a shelter, we know who bred it and we know who owned it. If you're against that, then I'm sorry. Then you're completely ignorant. I'm speaking from 20 plus years of experience of trying to figure this out. I'm a relatively intelligent man. I'm not super smart. I can figure stuff out. People who constantly backyard breed dogs that constantly end up in shelters with no responsibility, no accountability whatsoever, is what's causing this problem. Not people like me. Oh, well, why don't you take the dog? Because that's not what I do. I do evaluations, I do videos, and I advocate. And I show people how to keep the dog that you got. That's it. Right? There are a lot of great dogs in the shelters. And if I can point them out and help you get the best dog out of the shelter, because there are certain dogs in shelters that should be put down. There are certain dogs in shelters that should never enter a home. Right? They're the smallest percentage, but they are the ones that are the most noted, the most publicized because people feel bad for them. Oh, well, the dog attacked the kid, but the kid was right in the kid's space. The kid was right in the dog space, sorry. That's crazy, right? Dogs that attack children, dogs that attack puppies, male dogs that attack female dogs, these are all problematic dogs. And yeah, there are trainers out there who can work with them. But then what? Do you honestly believe that a person is going to be responsible enough to continue that training, that management? Because there's no fixing dogs. Let's get over that. In the beginning, I believe that. 20 years ago, I would say, oh, yeah, I worked with that dog. I fixed that dog. But I was young, like a lot of these trainers are now. And they're saying, oh, look at the results. The results last forever. Well, you're looking at it 2 months later, and sure, it probably will last for 2 months. I can tell you stories and show you dogs that I've worked with that I worked with. I continued the training with the people, and the dog ended up living 10, 12 plus years and then died. That is proof. If the dog dies without ever having made the mistake again, that's your receipt, right? Your receipt, your proof. So be careful who you take advice from. 3 a.m. in Brisbane. God bless you for being here. Thank you so much. All right. South Africa. Let's see. There's no topic here. So let's see. I'm going to pop some of these questions up here. Not sure what the topic is. The process of trying to sort a reactive and partly aggressive Malinois. So generally with dogs like Malinois, pit bulls, thinner nerve dogs, Dutch Shepherds, and such, the issue with aggression with these dogs is going to be insecurity and unstable nerves. Now, some Malinois will have more of a dominance-based aggression. Like some dogs are more dominant. Like my Shmuley is more of a dominant Malinois. Now, Goofy was more of a nervous, a thinner nerved, insecure Malinois. So I've seen both. I've trained both. I've handled both. I've worked both. What you want to do with a Malinois is you want to get them socially exposed as much as possible to make everything as unremarkable as possible, completely neutral. The more you can get the dog to see the world in a fair, neutral way. We're out walking, a bird flies by, good boy, hey, keep walking. A cat runs by, hey, good boy, keep walking. The more you can do that, the more you can start to work with the dog. If you have a super thin nerve, really sharp Malinois, and that lends itself to aggression, obviously, because the dog is insecure, it's either going to be aggression or shutdown, then you need to work on that. But most of the time, you're dealing with insecurity in dogs. They're under socialized. They're way over threshold in any environment, people, cars, bicycles, whatever. You got to focus on that. If you have a deeper question, I'd be happy to answer that. Okay, what's this? Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Penny. I'll give you a great example, and I'm not going to mention any names because this is my policy. I don't mention the names As you can look through all my videos, I called this one trainer out one time because I was inviting him out to do a debate. But every other person, if I've ever criticized them, I don't mention their names. I don't find any value in giving their name more public space on my platform if I don't like them. If I like them, boy, you'll hear me talk about them all the time. Like I just started this whole chat out talking about Jamie Penrith, one of the nicest people on the planet and one of the best dog trainers out there. Um, so I was going to say, so these people, you know, some in particular, they have dogs. They have Malinois, let's say, for example, and they have a collection of them. They have 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. They keep them in kennels. They don't live in the house. They can't put titles on them. I've put titles on my dogs. All my dogs had titles on them. They can't demonstrate anything with their dogs without treats and without toys. They'll do courses with people and then maybe knock off 1 or 2 things and then teach you what they taught, what they learned from this course. And it's nonsense, right? Be careful. Like a really nicely polished, beautiful website and great logos and stuff like that. That's not what you should buy. You should buy knowledge. You should buy knowledge from someone who has done a lot of the work. That's the key. Yeah, it's all experience. Okay, let's see here. What's this? Debating whether to leave the shelter, 6 years at the shelter, a lot of the same dogs getting very familiar, maybe too familiar. Well, I mean, you're thinking of not working at the shelter anymore. Look, trust me, I get it. Whenever anybody says to me, like when I was talking to Kevin Peters a couple of days ago, I said, maybe it's time to get out. Get out of rescue. And it's a hard thing to do. My friend Kyle Schwab, I told him, get out of rescue. Because there's a certain component where it just destroys you. It destroys your soul. It destroys your soul trying to fix problems that others created. You didn't create the problem. Most people that I know that work in rescue, work with shelters or anything, never had a hand in creating the problems that were there. And if you feel it's impinging on your sanity, get out. Get out. I closed Bound Angels, my nonprofit, several years back because it was eating at my soul. I never took in a lot of money. I was a horrible fundraiser. And I just closed it. So now I have my own money. So I just kind of go to the shelter and do my thing and, do what I can. But we're not solving this problem. I hate to tell you, this is the sad part. Oh, okay. I don't know what that I don't know what that means, but I'll take your word for it. Okay, outside line painters. When I'm working my dog, there's no way I can mess with my phone. Yeah, well, that's the way it should be. But obviously you're not a big social media influencer, right? If you were a social media influencer, you could show, you know, crappy training and film it at the same time. And if you were a really big influencer, you probably have a staff of people. And there's a lot of those social media trainers who have 3 or 4 or 5 friends around with their phones, and then they're editing it all together, and it looks amazing. It looks amazing. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a big problem. I have that same issue with people. I'd like to ask about forward drifting for a functional heel. Should I put pressure while it's walking or stop and slightly pop? So you're saying the dog is starting to drift forward in a focus heel. I think you mean focus heel and functional heel. Dogs will tend to move forward. The problem that I find with what you're saying is the dog probably wasn't taught the right way. The first thing I would do is stop and start again and push the dog back more. Take your left hand and push it behind your hip. Make the dog see that position, reward that, and mark that abundantly before you start doing all your popping stuff. Now, if you're just talking about a regular walk on a leash, then do it. Then yeah, just stop, wait for the dog to come back to you, reward it, take off, and do that over and over again. The dog will see. I don't even pop the leash. I just stop. And the dog gets to the end of the leash. I don't even do anything. I just wait. And when the dog then turns back to me, I say, oh, there we are, good. And then if I give him a cookie, I give him a pet, I give him a reward, mark the behavior, good. And then we take off again. And the dog will figure it out. In a focus heel, I think you need to look at it a little bit differently. What's this? I got certified in December, and one of the most important things I learned is that I have so much more to learn and that I need more practice. Well, that's a very good certification then. You know, if you actually learned that, then most people don't get that. Tristan here, what's the biggest mistake trainers make when trying to balance structure and relationship? Um, I think they overlook the relationship component, right? I think when trainers are trying to balance function and relationship, like structure and relationship, you have to focus on the relationship because the relationship makes the dog want to do what you want them to do. I don't ever, it's not my goal, especially now with training Shmoo. I've kind of taken this attitude like, I don't want to make him do what I want him to do. I want him to want to do what I want him to do. I want to show him the benefit in that. And that does involve clear boundaries. Like my dog must know that he cannot be aggressive to another dog or a person or something like that. He cannot run out of the door when I open the door. And some of those things are done obviously with corrections. You always need corrections in training, but um, destroying the relationship by putting too much pressure to get to the structure um, is dangerous, right? We need to make sure that the structure is there because the dog actually wants to be near you and wants to obey you. Real important. Um, I wish you guys would just put a question mark in front, but um, yeah, well, that's absolutely true. The people are insane. It really drives me nuts. All right. I trust your advice and input, not just because of your experience, but because you have a genuine passion for understanding dogs and communication with it. Um, yeah, you know, I genuinely love dogs. Like I don't um, see this as a way to make a living, or although I've made a very good living with it. I've been able to make a living with a lot of things in my life that I was passionate about, that I actually loved. I never really had a job in my life. Everything just kind of came to me through that. And I know a lot of people who are really good trainers who don't really love dogs, right? And when I say they're good trainers, I don't mean they're ethical trainers or they're trainers that I would admire. I'm saying they're good trainers to get results with dogs. But those results, oftentimes you'll see them in a performance or in a video. What I love is the ability to, and Larry Crone said this when he came over to my house. He said he liked me because he saw how my dogs were. My dogs are out. When people come to my house, my dogs are out. They're just free. I don't keep my dogs in the garage or in a laundry room or in a kennel. My dogs are my family. My dogs sleep on the bed with us. You know, I mean, Janet is on her side. I'm on my side. Shmoo's on my side. Dwayne's on her side on the couch. They're with us when we're eating. But they're near us. Um, Everything stems from there, and that's really important. And I would rather see a trainer who loves dogs. I would rather work with a trainer who loves dogs than a trainer who's very successful. What are my thoughts of breeds being trained in police and protection work? I know people who have wolf dogs and huskies that excel at protection and scent work. That's not the normal school. Yeah, you know, I have a problem with dogs that are used outside of their basic breeding genetics. Like, in other words, um, I've seen people do bite sports with Labradors, and I hate it because a Labrador was bred for generations and generation and generation to have a soft mouth to hold a duck. That's what the dog was bred for, right? So now to put pressure on that dog to get him to bite harder and to develop a full solid grip, a crushing grip on a sleeve is counterintuitive to their basic genetics. And people will say, "Oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that." You can do it, right? And I can get the square peg in the round hole. It just doesn't look pretty. And after I do it, it'll never go in the square hole again. So I prefer people to stick with what they should be sticking with. All right, I caught it live. Yay. Robert, thank you for all your free videos and tutelage. We finished a ADI verified course because of your free videos. Can't think of it. Well, thank you for that, Drew. That's really nice. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear this said because of the light of the video recently where people saying, "Oh, show the work. You don't show any work, and this other person shows more work." Honestly, I'm going to say this publicly. I don't think there's anyone who shows more work than me. I really don't. I know how many videos there are on YouTube. I know how many videos there are in my member section. I know how many videos there are on Instagram. Um, I've shown thousands and thousands of videos, and a lot of it is work, right? Some of them are just talking head videos, and people like those because it's advice. I don't do that much ranting and rambling sometimes, but very little. There's a lot of videos, and so many people, I get those comments. I really, really appreciate that. Would love to see you and Nate do another collab video. Love Nate. Nate Schomer. There's another great trainer. Love Nate Schomer. Big fan of his. Yep, well, we're all still learning from dogs. You're ahead of me, but we're still learning. Yeah, relationship is one. I mean, you want to find somebody who actually cares about the dog. My dog is 8 months old and wants to jump. When will his joints allow it? He's 70 plus pounds. So if he's a big dog, you should wait till the dog is about a year, right? That's when the growth plates start to close, 10 to 12 months. Be careful. I mean, like right now, if you want to do agility or something, you can have him go, stepping over bars, like 4-inch bars or something like that. Nothing past his elbows, but at 8 months, you can do, you can have him walking over jumps like elbows and stuff like that and start working with it, depending on what you want to do. My preferred dog food is Ziwi Peak. That's what I feed. Ziwi Peak beef and pumpkin. You can go to my site on the shop page, and you can get a discount code there for 20% off. I've been feeding it for many, many, many years, and love it. 1.5 years old. I don't know what that refers to, Anita. So, boy, we got through all those questions kind of quick. You know what happened is there's a very small audience here. Very small. It's the smallest audience I've maybe ever had, 50 people watching, because it didn't go onto Facebook, sadly. So the people on Facebook are trying to figure out where I am, and I'm over here on YouTube because I always have problems with Facebook like that. And I still personally have problems with overall with social media because I'm not a social media kind of a person. I'm a relatively private person. But one thing I want to talk about for a second, my friend Manny and Chris are putting on a great event called Paws in Palm Springs. And that's going on March. Actually, I'm going to check it out. I think I want to say March 1st, but then I thought they said March 3rd. Let me see here. It's going to be March. It is March 1st. I guess March 3rd they're doing something else. March 1st, I'm going to be in Palm Springs doing a hands-on working spot workshop. Now there will be people there who are spectating, who can just observe, ask questions, but there will be a certain amount of working spots, and I know there's not many, and I think they just opened up a couple more. So check it out. Paws in Palm Springs. Manny Guerra and Chris are putting it on, Enlightened Dogs. So you can go through their thing and check it out. And if you've ever wanted to work with me, because I rarely do seminars, because I personally don't like seminars. I mean, I guess I'll do some more in the future. People have been asking me to do them. I have an issue with it because I don't think you're going to learn much at a seminar, right? I'll tell you how you get the most out of a seminar. This would be my little tip for you. If you're going to a dog training seminar with some really great dog trainer, what you should look for is to gain one morsel of knowledge. That's it. What you don't want to do when you go to a seminar is you don't want to abandon everything you've done and go, okay, let's try it this way, because it's not fair to your dog. What you should look for, and this is what I plan to teach in my seminar, and this is what I teach when I help people with their dogs. I find what you're doing with that dog and how to make that better, not to abandon it and go a whole different way. Now, there are times when that is beneficial. For example, some of the things I did with Shmoo early on, I saw they weren't working out like I wanted them to. So I've been talking to somebody, and I'm kind of trying to go into a different direction with certain things, not everything, just little tiny things, and revisiting him. But he's only 2, right? He's only learned very basic things. Until a dog is 3 or 4 years old, they're still working on basic things, and nothing is cemented. We just have we're just kind of forming the clay a little bit. So, but check that out. Paws in Palm Springs, March 1st. It's a Sunday. It's in Palm Springs. The weather will be beautiful. I don't know where you're from, but it'll probably be better than where you live. Please read my question above. Zen. Okay, Zen. I don't know where your question is above, though. That's the problem, Zen. Why don't you post your question one more time for me because it didn't come through. And if you have too many characters in it, YouTube won't put it through. So it's not there, Zen, whoever you are. Let me see, let me find your thing. Zen colon here. You please put your question back because it didn't come through. Okay, Canine Fusion. Any advice for training? Oh, you're in Norway. Okay. For training a high drive dog that had missed socializing and structure as a puppy and have practiced reactivity and stress for years. I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to teach this dog to, I'm going to say it and then I'm going to explain it. You need to teach the dog to be calm. And the way you'll teach the dog to be calm is in a calm environment, reward calm behavior. Once the dog understands it, bring in some distractions, reward calm behavior. Bring them out where they are distracted at a distance, reward calm behavior, and take the dog, put them away, and be done with them. Next day, do the same thing, right? You can't push the dog. Most people do this. They push the dog past the limit. They're saying, oh, the dog is calm there. Oh, the dog is still calm. Oh, the dog is losing it. And then they put the dog away. The key thing is baby steps. Give you an example, for example, with healing, focus healing. If a dog starts to drift forward, and a lot of dogs do this, Shmoo is starting to do it a little bit, whatever. So you heal, he's good, he's good, he's good, he's drifting forward, you pop him back, and then you pay him, and then you stop. What did the dog learn? The dog learned, I get excited, I get hard correction, and everything stops. Instead, what you want to do is get the dog into position. He does it right. 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, pay him. Boom. Relax. Do it again. 6 steps, 7 steps, 8 steps, pay him. Done. 15, 20, 30 steps. Boom. Done. Reward the successes for the dog. So you want to reward the calm behavior for the dog and go slow. It's easy to go too fast. I hope that helps you. Yes, please, on Canon. I don't know what that means. So yeah, so most training is done without relationship. Sadly, we read a textbook and then we kind of try to apply things, and that's where we get bit in the butt. Okay, here's your question, Zen. Why do so many rescue and shelters train using positive only or force free and reject balanced training? I want to help my local shelter, but was turned down because I use slips and prongs. So I'm going to tell you why. One, they're completely unknowledgeable. They believe they drank the Kool-Aid, right? They believe that dogs can be trained without ever using a correction, without ever using a slip lead, without ever using a no or an aversive. And sadly, that's wrong. Especially dogs where we need to block certain dangerous behaviors. I am as positive a trainer as anybody can ever meet. But there is a time where a correction will come in. Now, shelters have been led to believe that they can train dogs to do this because they read the fake science. On the other side, this is my beef with this whole issue, is you have people online, and I can cite 3 of them right now, but I'm not going to cite their names because I don't cite trainers that I don't like, that think it's funny to talk about how high they shock dogs, what they do with dogs with e-collars, and showing, and famous trainers, I just saw a video, being super, super hard on a super, super soft dog. They think that's what they're going to get with a balanced trainer. And this is why I can't stop myself from staying here and educating people that training, forget balance training, dog training is about structure, connection, and correction, right? If you can get the dog to learn, first of all, you don't correct a dog while they're learning per se. You guide them to learn. You correct them once they know they're making a mistake. Shelters are afraid of the negative blowback, the bad PR they'll get if somebody using corrections in the shelter. But I will tell you this much. I worked in the LA City shelters, volunteering, developing programs, teaching, assessing dogs. I never, ever, ever used anything but a slip lead and treats, right? So when people say, show me the work, I can show you the work. I mean, it started in 2008. So you can do the math. That was when I first entered the LA City Shelter, maybe 2007, 2008, I would say. Um, that's 18 years, right? Yeah, 18 years of just using, every time I go in there, it's a slip lead and a bag of treats. That's it. I can train a dog with a slip lead and a bag of treats. I can train any dog with a slip lead and a bag of treats. I don't need it. Never used a muzzle, never used an e-collar for aggression or anything like that. I don't need it. And that's why I said, if people are going to start abusing tools, and I see it becomes the commonplace, because I don't think it's the commonplace. I think it's the uncommon thing. And this is what Jamie Penrith and I were talking about before. In so many ways, if I see this going where e-collars are methodically abused, I'll go against the e-collar. I don't care. I care about one thing. The reason I'm for the e-collar is because the benefit it brings to dogs. Now, in competitive sports, it's used very differently than it's used in pet dog world, but it still benefits a lot of dogs in the pet dog world. I do still think that the abusers on e-collars are the outliers. They're the exceptions to the rule, which is why I still advocate for it. But when trainers, or when I'm told that trainers say these shocking things about the e-collar just to rile up the purely positive people, I'm going to rile up against that, because that's not the way to make the e-collar more acceptable and more useful, by saying you're abusing the dog with it. I mean, it's crazy. It's not funny. So, all right. How do I redirect my German Shepherd when acting aggressive to other dogs? Intact, year and a half. This just started. Well, it's going to start at this age, right? This is really the age, and depends how you socialize the dog early on. My situation is, I teach the dog, again, same thing. In a sterile environment, I teach the dog to look at me, to pay attention to me, to sit, to come, da 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 da. Then I'll introduce distractions at a distance. It can be a tennis ball, it can be food, it can be a toy, it can be a person walking by, it can be a person on a bicycle, whatever. The dog must still focus on me. Then I'll take the dog out at a distance from other dogs and reward the dog for good behavior and correct the dog for bad behavior. So you need to get the dog exposed to distractions, make sure you can do it. And the key thing I would tell you is, the leash has to be loose. You have to hold on to it tight, has to be on a good collar, but the leash, if the leash is tight, the dog will become aggressive. That's just general. But you got to get the dog out and socialize them. Okay, here's one. As a dog trainer yourself, what can I do to help educate dog owners? Owners are still listening to the vets for behavior advice and the Petco training classes. Well, the only thing you can do is show examples, right? When I take my dog out, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had Shmoo out at the park, just doing some basic little stuff, and somebody said, "Are you a dog trainer?" And I said, "Well, not really. I don't." The reason I say that is because I don't want. I'm not hustling business, right? I don't want to take on any clients. And she kept watching. She says, "Well, you know what you're doing. You could help me." So I referred her to my friend Eric Shearer, who's a really nice guy, a good trainer, lives in Northridge. And that was it, right? But if you're showing your stuff, if you're out there demonstrating it, people are going to listen. My vets only refer me. They don't recommend veterinary behaviorists, because most of them are quacks. And then there are good ones, but a lot of them that we're talking about here are quacks, because they can't help with the physical application of the theory that they've learned. So, and there's been plenty, no, I wouldn't say plenty, there's been a few veterinary behaviorists who I've helped with their dogs, as well as, I can tell you, my friend Kyle has helped people with their dogs that were veterinary behaviorists too. All right. Social media is a very new platform to digest information. Where do you see training moving towards from 2008 for 2026? Do you see a positive or negative trend? I see a negative trend, right? And I'll tell you why. Because there's too much information out there, and people get caught up in the algorithm. They're fed. You're actually being fed what social media wants you to see. And it's fascinating how that works. And in an example, when I called out this particular trainer, there are people who said to me, "Well, he's mean to people, but he saves dogs." Well, I will tell you this much. If a person is very mean to people, it's hard to save a dog, right? It's very, very hard to save a dog because people don't want to be don't want you to be mean to them. It's an immediate turnoff. I mean, I'll give you a little business advice. I've done well in business. Um, be nice to people because they're struggling too. People are having everybody's going through a battle, a mental battle, an emotional battle, a physical battle, and being kind to people isn't that hard. And yes, I will call you out if you're not being kind to people, right? But just be kind. You know, I've never said anything like, I'm going to come knock on your door or anything. I don't do that. I would never threaten that. So um, I think it's going in the wrong direction. And there's too much of it out there. There's too much, the 60-second reel or minute reel that you're seeing on social media is not indicative of the training. I have hundreds and hundreds of hours of training. And I can tell you with Shmoo, for example, here, look at this. Let me show you something. This is just a recent one. This is what I was going to post on this. This is my training journal with Shmoo, and this one is only from this year, from last year, 11/10. But you can see that every day I write down what I do with Shmoo, the tracks I did, the obedience I did, what the results were. And then I have another book here that when I talk to very, very good trainers, I ask them questions. And you can see it's just full of advice I got from so many different trainers. So it's a very, very long process that you have to go through in order to train a dog. It's not fast and it's not sexy, right? Shmoo and I still go to the park and focus on our basic position, our basic training. So really important. Thank you. Somebody gave me a super chat. Thank you so much for that. I don't even know how that works, but I appreciate it. Shmoo's trying to climb in my lap here. You can't go there right now. Okay, e-collar was not allowed in our course, and that's good. So if it wasn't allowed in your course, then you're focusing on other things. I mean, I think it should be. I think if you're going to take a course on dog training, um, at least there should be a component where you understand the e-collar, right? But I have an issue with a lot of dog trainers who get a dog and immediately that dog goes on. Every single dog goes on an e-collar. Well, the e-collar isn't a tool for every dog, right? It just isn't. It's a tool for very specific dogs, and it's a very good tool. Prong collar, same thing. And there are dogs that do well with a prong collar and do horrible with an e-collar, and vice versa. So, got to understand everything. You're going to be a trainer. We need e-collars with our dogs who are hunting 300. Yeah, and that's a great example, Penny. So, Janet did a little bit of hunting with Dwayne Amader, and Dwayne comes from a really good hunting line. Now, in certain places, they don't use e-collars. There's other things they do, and the European, British way of training gun dogs is, from my understanding, a lot better than we do it here. And I will say that I've talked to a lot of German trainers in IGP, and it's a lot better than we do it here in the States, because they condition the dogs differently early on. I'm not going to get into that. I will at some point. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Penny. The dog is 200 yards away. And now, the clicker allows you to reinforce a positive behavior. And by the way, I'm going to tell you guys something, and this is going to break the internet. But here, I'm only going to tease it here, but there's something coming. I'm not going to say anything else. The clicker is a wonderful tool, and you know what? I've changed my position on it recently. Look how happy it made Shmoo when he just heard that. Huh. Oh, good boy, good boy. Okay, hop off, hop off. I got work to do. Shmoo, hop off. Let's go. Good. So you see how my dogs are like kenneled and crated and everything. He's right here climbing up in my lap. Yeah, the e-collar is a very, very valuable tool, and used properly, it's a great tool. Sadly, if it's abused, got to talk to those people. We did condition and train a consistent out of class because we go take the lead. Good, perfect. Loves his e-collar. Yeah, of course. If it symbolizes something good, then they love it. Good. Yeah, stand up for dog training is fair, but but also don't be afraid to call out people where it's not fair. Okay, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate that very much. I finally bought a protection dog from Protection Dogs Worldwide. She is trained in e-collar, but is banned in Australia. In Austria, yes. Without it, she does not listen and not dropping the ball. She stares at the ball. Ideas. Um, I would, I think this is really important. You need to set the foundation again, right? So if you can't use the e-collar, if you could use the e-collar, like some people in Europe do, just they don't talk about it. Um, then you can kind of condition the dog off of it. Like you can pair the e-collar with a correction on a slip lead so that the dog starts to feel those similar at the same time and will then transfer it onto that. But for example, if the dog is not dropping the ball and only drops the ball with pressure, that dog wasn't taught the out properly at all. My dog will drop anything without the e-collar. And sometimes with the e-collar, it actually makes them hold on worse. So I would start teaching the dog an out, use something low value, put it in their mouth, hold it, until they let go. And when they let go, always teach a regrip, a regrip, a regrip. I really, it's a longer conversation. If you remember my site, maybe consider doing a phone consult. I can give you some input there. It's something I have to explain to you, ad nauseum how to do. But the thing you can start with is first, once you do this, give the dog a ball, let her play with the ball, have another ball, same color, same age, same everything. And while she's holding that ball, hold the other one in front of her and say, drop it, drop it. When she drops it, give her this ball, right? And then she's holding this one, play, 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 play. Hold it real still, hold this one. Drop it, and when she drops it, give her this one. Do that to start with. If you remember my site, maybe we can schedule a phone consult and I can help you there. Labs. What advice can I give if my dog bites my hands and forearms? Even when I walk her, she jumps and bites my hands and forearms. Don't mind the scars, but her jaw strength is getting to my nerves. Um, I'd be interested to know how old your dog is and why you've allowed it up to now. It's an absolute no-no. Putting your teeth on me is an absolute no-no. Um, I need to I need more context. I don't really understand that it's a complete no-no, right? I mean, if the dog was jumping up and doing it, I would correct the dog firmly, depending how old this dog is. It seems to me if you're saying jaw strength, it's old. If it's a dog that's 14, 16 weeks old, I would start to condition. I wouldn't be really hard on the dog. But if the dog is like a year old, that dog would learn real quickly that that's not acceptable. Okay, that's the end of that question. So, again, a lot of the questions you guys are asking are based on relationships. They're based on understanding um, the dynamics that make a dog want to do something. For example, if a dog is constantly biting your arms, you're yelling at the dog and pushing the dog down, and that's the only engagement the dog is getting, well, then the dog sees, okay, 6-month-old German Shepherd. So 6 months old, you need to start getting that in check. So maybe give the dog something to hang on to because it seems to me like the dog is high drive. The dog is probably maybe looking to, it's a German Shepherd. It's looking to engage. It's looking to play. Put something in the dog's mouth. Let the dog play with that. Carry it. Hold it. If the dog then goes to bite you in the arm, I would correct the dog. No, no, no on the collar. Hey, don't do that. And then give him the toy back. Now, you need to make sure that you give the dog an outlet to play. In other words, is this a working line dog? Because if it's a working line dog, more than likely in its DNA and its genetics, the biting is there. That's what the dog is bred to do. And how have you conditioned it? What training have you done with this dog from day one? Have you taught the dog to bite on a tug and not bite on a hand? Have you taught the dog to bite on a rag and not bite on a shoe, for example? All those things should have been handled early on, starting at 6, 7, 8 weeks old. And if the dog, and I see this a lot with working dogs, especially here in the States and bad breeders in Europe as well, where the dog is so conditioned to getting jacked up and being excited and all this and all these shaking cans and all this, whips and stuff, making a dog crazy. Well, then that dog is just conditioned to that, and you need to really focus on the dog to learn how to settle down. A good correction, I'm going to probably do a course on corrections because there's so many a correction can be not giving the dog a treat. A correction can be a pop on a leash. A correction can be spatial pressure. A correction can be holding pressure on the dog. There's a handful of different corrections, and it depends on the dog, It depends on the infringement. What did the dog do wrong? And it depends on your ability as a handler. It can be anything from not giving the dog treat to an e-collar correction to a pop on a leash to anything. Depends. I can't answer that, you know. What age do you correct a puppy? Well, I correct puppies from day one, right? But I don't punish puppies. That's the important thing. Correction can be taking away the shoe he's chewing on and giving him something else. That's correcting. That's saying you can't do this, but you can do that. The problem we've gotten into, and I think this is one of the biggest mistakes in dog behavior, is the word punishment. And they say, yeah, punishment is adding something and you know whatever with the four quadrants. Punishment is the wrong word. Whoever came up with it, whether it was Skinner or whether it was you know whoever, it's the wrong word, because punishment in the just defined by the dictionary is a punishment so that comes after the fact. Correction is something you can do while the dog is doing it. You're correcting, giving the dog good behavior. I do it starting early on, but I don't punish my dogs. Okay, I got time for one or two more questions. Sometimes a dog is looking for interaction, and if no is all they get, negative attention is what they, yeah, 100%. That's exactly correct. Hide the e-collar in a flat. Yeah. How do you get respect? Someone told me she's not. She might not be respecting you, but we can talk about that. Go to my site, fill out the form. I don't know if you're a member or not. If you're not, just send a submission form and tell Alan that we talked on the YouTube live, and we'll make sure I'll get you in. Can an e-collar make a dog nervous because she's running around? Yes. An e-collar used improperly can make a dog a neurotic, absolute mess. Hi, Jab. I don't know who you are, but hi, nice to see you. We train her in a few weeks. Good. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys, as always, for all your support. Again, I think the views here are a little bit low today because of Facebook. It didn't go, and I don't know, maybe people are busy. But, you know, I always say this, even if I can just help one person, if this whole hour was just for one person to gain a better understanding of dog training, then that hour of my life is worth it. And I hope it helped you, because that's really it. And I hope that if you gain anything from my chats, from my YouTube videos, from my member section, that you'll pay it forward, you know, help other people, because that's really what I've always tried to do. Is I've always tried to make it a little better for other people, because there's been so many people who've helped me along the way that I'm indebted, grateful, and super humbled by it. And therefore, even if I, whoops, there, smooth hitting the camera, that I always want to pay it forward. So thanks for being here, guys. I'm going to the member section now. So I wish you a great day. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.